Welcome to the Liberated Feminine Podcast. I'm Lucy Lampy, your host. And in this episode, this is going to be a juicy one with a lot of nuance. Okay, this is about the truth about compatibility and when it might be time to leave. Now, this is not a formula for, hey, if you do A and B and it doesn't equal C, then get your ass out of that relationship. No. So I am asking that before you listen to this episode, you really open your heart, okay? Open your mind, and not just to what I'm about to share with you, but also to whatever deeper truths you might be avoiding looking at within yourself. All right? So let's begin by talking about what compatibility is not. All right. Compatibility is not sameness. Let me repeat that. Compatibility is not sameness. When people ask, okay, well, are we sexually compatible, for example? Okay, what does compatibility mean to you? Does it mean that you both like the same things in the same way? Do you have the same needs? What does that mean to you? So first, I would invite you to maybe even pause the podcast right now and ask yourself very honestly, what do you believe compatibility means? What does it feel like? What is that experience like in a relationship? And if you want to just narrow it down to the specific context of sex, right? That may help to just make like laser focus on one specific thing. And then as we continue to explore, okay, what is compatibility? Let's look at what compatibility is. If it's not sameness, then think of it this way. I like to say that compatibility is when needs align with what the other is able and genuinely willing to provide. If that is not the case, what will happen over time is self-abandonment and resentment. I mean, hello, how many long-term relationships have you seen, or how many girlfriends have you talked to that there is a resentment because there was something that there was an expectation that wasn't fulfilled, or maybe she was fulfilling expectations for her partner that then she came to resent. So the perfect compatibility is just unrealistic. Let's be real here, okay? So it's not that you're going to be exactly compatible in every single way, but what we really want to go for here is to be able to align on the things that you each value the most. So let's say that. Let's put some super favorable numbers out there, right? Like, let's say that you are compatible in 90% of things. Right? Your values, your direction you're going in life, family dynamics, how you want to raise children, whether or not you want to have children, marriage, not marriage, all these different things. Let's say that you align, and even dietary, how your reverence for nature, your reverence for the consciousness that you consume through your body, through your food and what you drink, alcohol, no alcohol, all these things. And let's say that you are 90% compatible. Now, that's like way more than I think most couples we would actually have. But let's be really generous here. 90%. And that 10% of the things you're not exactly on the same page about. Now, also, that doesn't mean that you're not compatible. But let's just say that there are some needs that, I do want this. Maybe it's not a fundamental core value need type of thing, but it's okay if I don't have it. Like, you realize that there are trade-offs, right? Like, for example, if you're with a partner that has more of the stability and the safety and the grounded, more regulated nervous system, you're probably not going to get some kind of crazy love bombing and huge romantic gestures to win you over. Right? So if that's something that you have, discovered that maybe you really want that, maybe a part of you needs that. And I would say, what part of you needs that? Maybe unpack that a little bit, and see what is the deeper need beneath that. But let's say that 90-10%, okay? 90%, 10%. when that 10% of things is actually important to you, I hesitate to use the word non-negotiable, but it's like these core needs, these core values, which is why it's so important to learn yourself and continually be in that self-discovery, open to that. When that 10% is actually something that you really do need, that your heart really needs, then that 10% becomes a 90%. And what's interesting about this is that you might have heard this quote that men get into relationships with women or committed relationships with women hoping that they won't change. Meanwhile, women get into really committed relationships with men thinking that they are going to change, with the assumption that, oh, I'm going to change this about him. And then when that doesn't change, oh my God, that is a rude awakening. And we take it personal. It's like, wow, you mean I wasn't amazing enough, sexy enough, inspiring enough, intelligent enough, whatever, on and on, to make you fill in the blank, to make you more aware of what needs to be done around the house, to make you more attentive to my emotional needs, and this doesn't mean that growth is not anticipated. Of course, if for me, growth is a very core value. I wouldn't have attracted someone into my relational awareness in the first place if he was not also that, because that is something that I embody so strongly, so fully. And so it's not that, this person will never grow and I'm just like, oh, this is as good as it gets. But be really fucking honest with yourself. Can I accept this person in the full package of who they are right now without needing them to change? If they did not change one iota, can I still be at peace with that? Can I still find the fulfillment in this relationship? Is this still what I fundamentally am looking for and needing in a relationship, in a partnership? And can I tolerate those things? I think the word tolerate gets a bad rap because it's not the same as self-abandonment or self-sacrifice. It's just not. Can we tolerate each other? Okay, let's be real, because we both have our stuff, right? We all have our stuff. Can we tolerate each other on our worst days and still feel safe? Can we tolerate each other in the things that are not exactly our preferences and still be kind and still be loving and still be open to growth? You've got to really, honestly assess these things when you're getting to know someone. And it's funny because, with my partnership now, it's like right out the gate, we were both so fucking honest about what we know about ourselves that we fundamentally need. I mean, we weren't going to fuck around and just, let's see where this goes. Like, we both were very clear about what we wanted. And not that there's anything wrong with casually dating. It's just that we didn't want to do that. And so, especially me with 4 kids, I'm like, I'm not in this to just have a boyfriend. I want someone I can build a life with. And I wanted to see if that was where we could go, and here we are actually building a life together. But there were so many steps along the way, so many uncomfortable conversations, so many vulnerable conversations, because we both wanted to know, like, are we actually compatible in the ways that matter the most? Now, there are things that, let's say, preferences. I will define the difference between a fundamental need and a preference. There are some things that, of course, partners are going to prefer that the other one do differently. We have preferences on how the other one would show up or respond to things, et cetera, et cetera. And it's so important to be able to communicate, hey, here's how I feel really loved when you do this, when you show up like this, whenever I am going through this. And it's not comfortable. It's not. And especially, I think, when you are getting to know someone new, but even when you already are in a committed relationship where you have all these patterns established, that's equally difficult in its own ways. I've been there too. where, we're fucking with the status quo now. We're messing with the dynamic that is familiar to us. And that really does shake things up, and that can feel scary to both your egos, for sure. That's inevitable. And so you've got to be prepared to navigate that. But think of it this way. So we're living in Ecuador right now, and sometimes there are random power outages. And even right now, though we're not in a season where there's a super, drought and the resources are dry and the power will go out for, half a day at a time. When we first moved here, it was wild. We really, really came to appreciate just having electricity and water pressure. But even now, somebody could be doing construction down the street and then we don't have power for half a day. It's like, well, what are you going to do? So there's not exactly this stability to have, very specifically, a deep freezer. Let's say that we want a meal prep, that is a preference. That it would make life easier if we could just spend all day Sunday cooking for the week. Because to be honest with you, very realistic, when you're feeding 6 people every day, everything that I would prepare for 2 people that would last for us, for days, no, it's gone in a day. Forget about it. It is gone. And there are very little leftovers, maybe for just the 2 of us, after the kids go to school or something. But there is, it's not very realistic to try to meal prep. It literally wouldn't fit in the fridge. The volume of food we would have to prepare and store, we'd need a deep freezer. And so I was thinking to myself, I thought, this preference, or we could even say this need, right? But it's not really like a need. So I'm going to stick with the word preference. This preference to be able to meal prep for multiple days or even a week is not something that the environment we are in can provide. We can try. We could try it. We could have a freezer. We could, go through those things, and might work for a while. But then whenever the seasons come that we maybe don't have reliable, consistent power, all that food is going to be spoiled. All of it is going to go to waste, and that's going to be frustrating. And then there will be built this resentment of like, why the fuck are we here? What are we doing? This sucks. So just taking this hopefully less emotionally charged example to demonstrate to you how this really applies to anything. But relay this back to your relationship in whatever form might be most appropriate for you. Are those needs or preferences compatible with what that person or that environment or that season can provide? And if it can't, okay, here's the next question. Is this something that I really need? Like that if I don't have this in my life, that I'm not experiencing this, I am in opposition to my integrity. That who I am in my core will begin to disintegrate. And that is a fucking deep question to ask. Now, I'm going to shift the focus to, should I stay or should I go? This is a conversation, this is a question I've heard from so many people throughout the years, working with couples, working with women. And what I want to emphasize first is that, man, this is such a reality check, such a personal heart check. When you ask yourself this question, just brutally honest, is there any touch of feeling superior? Is there any touch of, well, I've been doing the work, my partner has not, I've done everything I can, I'm just at the end of my rope, like he's not becoming any more self-aware or getting into self-help or spirituality, and I'm just like, I'm over it. He's not pulling his weight. So that may be true, but let's just practice separating the facts from the feelings for a second, okay? Firstly, the energy of I'm better than you, I've outgrown you. Do you know what I'm talking about? No, be fucking honest, okay? I'm better than you, and now I need to go find someone who has like the big boy pants to put on that I can build my kingdom with. But from a wounded maiden energy, All right, these energetic subtleties, it goes so much deeper than the form or the words that we're saying. So much deeper. This is about your way of being and how you are perceiving yourself, this partner, your relationship, your situation, your future. And, there's a big difference in the energetic field, let's say, between that and this next example, where you can honor your partner is where they are. You can honor their pace and that they are exactly on time in their journey. You can honor your pace and your timing and your journey and look at it for what it is and say, maybe we're not aligned anymore. Maybe we're complete, and really, really looking deeper into yourself instead of outsourcing your power and waiting for something to change in the other person to give you your answer. Now, personally, I would say, unless this is an abusive relationship, unless it is that kind of context, what I would encourage women to do, because I know this is the Liberated Feminine podcast, I know we do have male listeners, but I'm speaking to you women right now, is to really commit to your own heart and to embodying and liberating your vibrance, your life force, your joy, your peace within the relationship. Because here's what happens when you can manage to do that within a partnership where you feel like they're not putting in as much effort as you into their healing or their growth or whatever, or into the relationship. When you can find your vibrance in that, even if you do end up going your separate ways, or the other option is he sees this transformation in you and that inspires him to step up, something's going to change. It's inevitable one way or another. But let's say that you do go your separate ways. You're doing yourself a huge favor by not carrying those lessons that you didn't quite get in this relationship into the next one, because everywhere you go, there you are. And from a soul perspective, the things that you are here to clear out and to bring to completion and to experience on a soul level within your relationships, that doesn't just go away because you walk away from one relationship. It's just going to present itself in a different way, maybe and even the same way, but with a new man. Same story, new character, So you do yourself a huge favor by finding ways to find your voice, to find your radiance, to find your peace and your joy in the relationship you're in, as long as you are not unsafe. Just very practically, I feel like that should go without saying, but I need to say it. And that is exactly what I was so thankful to myself to have done within my marriage. Because had I walked away when we were still in our years of just incredible turmoil and conflict and couldn't see eye to eye and couldn't connect and couldn't see each other's hearts, and it was just all about how we were hurting each other and all of these patterns and all these childhood wounds. If I had walked away at that point, my post-divorce journey would have looked wildly different. And I do want to say too that for those who ask, how do you find love after divorce, after heartbreak? I didn't find it. It was always with me. It was always in me. It just matched up with someone who was also that. And had I had such, the years of healing that I did within my marriage before the point of divorce, if I had started that after the divorce, which is common, that's often a wake-up call for people. They go through this heartbreak and then it's like, whoa, let me look at myself. Let me look at my patterns and my wounds and my shadows. But I had been actively doing that for many years at that point. So that was a huge service to myself. That was in devotion to my heart, to my peace, to my radiance, just to my life. Because I want to be a conduit of love. I am committed to being love. And I trust where it guides me. Now, I also want to say, not everyone may agree with this, but I believe that there is no wrong decision to be made if you stay or you go. What I will say is that there is a very different set of consequences for each one, right? So which consequences can you make the most peace with? That's another question. And when you make decisions from a place of fear and wanting to run away from the discomfort, it feels very different than when you make a difficult decision with an open heart and really knowing deep down that this serves the higher vision that I feel my soul is here to fulfill. And speaking of those consequences, just a very personal example. There were many consequences of deciding to stay and work through things within the marriage that I could be at peace with. However, when it got to the point where a consequence became, okay, if I continue, it became very clear there was something that made it very clear that if I continue, a consequence of choosing to stay will be my integrity disintegrating. Because at the core of what I actually truly need, it does not match with what his willingness was to provide. And again, this was not a preference. It was not an urge. It was a fundamental need that literally overnight, and I feel like nothing in my journey is fucking normal. Maybe one day we'll make a movie, okay? Became revealed to me that would be a consequence. And that's when I knew. That is when I knew. Another consequence was that if I continued to stay, there would be some not great consequences for our family, for my kids. And this is why also we were both able to move forward with the decision to divorce without hating each other, without ill intent, without resentment, without blame, without rage towards each other. Was there heartbreak? Yes. Did I feel like my heart shattered into a billion pieces? Fuck yes. It was the worst pain I've ever, I had never even imagined that I could feel, that I physically felt in my physical body. But it was the best thing for us to do. And even just looking at it from this perspective of the consequences for both of us to continue in a marriage together would have been far too great. And so the consequences of separating and divorcing, yes, there are consequences to that. There are natural things that are going to be needed in that process that we had to navigate taking that path. But it's like choose your hard, right? I have a thing with that phrase. It's like choose your heart, and yeah, it's like choose your challenge. But it really is. It is that. Honestly, it is that. And so which set of consequences can you make peace with? And this takes really deep work. This is why also when we talk about compatibility, often what tends to happen from the soul perspective is we end up with partners whose our wounds are compatible with. And that is in divine plan. Like that is so fucking on purpose so that we can work through these things and be free. Not so we can fix something or because there's something wrong with us, so we can be fucking free. Do you see that? It's not about fixing, it's about liberating. And hence, this is why I call this podcast the Liberated Feminine, because you are liberating more of your heart. And so what in this decision, if you are literally asking yourself right now, should I stay or should I go? It's, what will liberate your heart? Zoom out, look at the bigger picture. What will liberate your heart the most? Not just fulfill your temporary preferences or urges or impulses. Those are all great and good. Those have a place. But you're talking about a life-changing decision. These are deeper questions to ask yourself. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I hope that this gave you some food for thought and deeper reflections to go into within yourself. And any aha moments or thoughts that you may want to share with me, feel free to email support@thewildawakening.com. And until next time, here's to liberating your wild feminine heart.
Bring the boom, I bring the bass, give me a taste, they me the waste, I'm your little plaything.